Hello, everyone. My name is Lyle Martin, CEO of Springboard Equity, and welcome to our next installment of the Get Pitched webinar series. Today, we have just one company presenting to you, a little bit of change from the invite, but we've had some scheduling changes. And today, we're very excited to have XRMD Personalized Health and their CEO, Jeff Brady, joining us for today's pitch. A couple housekeeping notes before we get started here. As usual, please type any questions that you have utilizing the chat box to the right of your screen, and we'll make sure we get to those at the end of the session during the Q&A time. And any questions we don't get to, we'll make sure Jeff gets those and he'll respond accordingly. In addition, we've got our basic legal disclaimers, which you will see here shortly. Just again outlining that Springboard does not recommend or suggest or have any affiliation with today's pitching company, and therefore all the information presented to you is directly from the company, and therefore doing your own diligence accordingly. Also, after today's session, Jeff will be able to follow up with yourself. This will be posted on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to find any replays there. In addition, a replay link will be sent to all registrants. So if you only catch part of today's session, you'll make sure you get a replay link there accordingly as well. At this point, I will turn it over to Jeff Brady, CEO of XRMD. Go ahead, Jeff.
Great. Thanks, Lyle. And thank you, everybody, for joining today. I'm very excited to be presenting our company to you. Next slide, please. So our vision is to establish XRMD as a clinical standard to be used by physicians the world over. And with our goal here is to, while improving individual health, we also believe and have seen that our methods have the ability to control and better manage chronic disease, and we believe that they can in turn lower healthcare costs for society. So we have a pretty ambitious vision, but let's kind of drill down into the specifics here and get a little bit more grounded. Next slide, please. So our mission as a company is to help people improve their health through personalized programs that optimize their physiology based on their individual genetics and biochemistry. And really every person can benefit from optimizing physiology. We do so through a testing procedure and then provide specific actionable steps for a patient that will impact the foods that they should and should not consume, the nutritional supplements that they may need to augment their diet, and how to address hormone imbalances. And we also provide the necessary support and monitoring so that they can succeed. So food is actually more, as many of you as doctors would know, food is more than classic metabolism. Recent science is showing that food is actually shaping the activity of the genome and is a key component to the work that we do at XRMD. And it's a science called nutritional epigenetics that's a key component of what we do, and I'll get into a little bit more of that as we move along. We've actually helped thousands of patients with a variety of ailments with much success over an 11-year development. The company actually was started by Dr. George Rizakis, the precursor company to XRMD, back in 2005, and over the last several years, he's been working with his patients and a small group of doctors who have been affiliated to hone the method to the point where we are today. And we call ourselves XRMD Personalized Health because our goal is to optimize physiology by identifying and improving the underlying or the root causes of disease. So we have a successful method, which we'll talk about later, but the way that we have our mission is to try and help people much broader than just Dr. Rizakis' practice. As CEO and as an investor in the company, and as a strategist in my own experience, we've put together a plan where what we're looking to do is to provide this as a service, and do provide this as a service available through doctors. And we measure these multiple biochemistry markers to create the personalized care plans. We work alongside physicians as an expert advisor in offering this capability to the patients. And the core problem as we see it is many doctors appreciate the importance of optimizing physiology, meaning helping people understand how to better manage their lifestyle, make better choices regarding diet and exercise and the like. But it's very difficult for the vast majority of doctors to incorporate this into our practice. There's limited reimbursement today, and the time pressures are monumental. So we solve these problems by providing a collaborative and a centralized expertise to doctors so they can add the capability to their practice without investing a great deal of time or money. Next slide, please. So many chronic diseases actually share common underlying causes. And some of these actually may be corrected or improved upon through this concept that we call optimizing physiology. And so our opportunity from a business standpoint is to deploy a systematic and a scalable solution for doctors to implement in their offices and health systems around the US and over time throughout globally. And the distribution channels that we envision, although today we are only working with individual doctors, but we have some initial discussions with larger group practices or health systems, and you can envision over time where managed care companies and even employers might see this as an add-on to their wellness programs. Over the last 11 years, as I mentioned, we've helped a lot of people with a multitude of diseases that span the range of clinical expertise clinical situations from depression or anxiety, gastrointestinal issues, migraine, and the like. Yet we are looking to, or we have focused our efforts in one area, which is migraine. And the reason we did that is because we really have a key strategic problem here. From the perspective of proof that it works. While there's great science and we have treated many patients in this as a small company, we decided in late 2015 to focus our efforts in improving our efficacy in one disease state. And we had actually seen pretty impressive results with people suffering from migraine. And over the last year and a half, we have been focusing predominantly on the treatment of migraine, and we've achieved an important proof point of migraine this last year. And as a result, we are ready to commercialize and start to scale the company, which is why we're here today. Next slide, please. So I'd like to spend a couple of minutes on this market. First, it's a very large market, and it's a very underserved market. And XR has a very impressive, or building a very impressive track record in migraine. So it represents a good opportunity for us to show proof that the concept is working, begin to scale the business to the next level of growth, begin to attract more business that can then drive us to invest more into scientific study and continue the process. It doesn't hurt that the market is big, because it helps us show that we have, even with where we are today, with the fact that the product is it's an out-of-pocket investment by the consumer. There's still a pretty large market. I just want to spend a couple minutes explaining to you how I came up with the today market from the addressable over time. So you'll see statistics throughout, if you ever look in migraine, that about 1 in 10 people across the world, and certainly 1 in 10 Americans, or 36 million people, suffer from migraine. And we estimate that to be about a $50 billion market. But that is not addressable really by us today yet. We estimated the size of the market by taking into account the fact that the end customer has to pay out of pocket. This is not something that's currently covered by insurance. And as a result, we took a pretty big handicap here off of the market size by limiting it to earners of people who would afford and pay for this type of program, about people making over about $100,000 a year. And for that, we believe that today our market is around 2 million people, and it still makes it about a $3 billion market. So in and of itself, it's even with this lower number, it's still a very attractive market, and one that we think is attractive. And as we achieve more success and we get more reportable data, we expect that we will be driving strategically to talk with managed care companies and wellness companies and employers to tap into that larger market size. And our focus here is to, just quickly, I'm a former strategy consultant, so my focus here is really making sure we do focus on something that we can prove the business model, prove that it works, and then we can expand to other disease states over time in a systematic way. Let's go to the next slide. I'd like to talk a little bit about the dynamics. We already talked about the fact that there's a big unmet need, but only about 300 doctors are really specialized in migraine, and it's not a top research priority among all the different choices of disease. Migraine is not doesn't top the list. And then from a patient perspective, they're actively seeking new therapies and are really trying to find ways that they don't have to suffer from the disease, and they want to be migraine-free. And they want more than the standard of care. And of course, the standard of care it treats the symptoms and not the root cause. These pain-relieving drugs and procedures. So, to sum up the market, our current experience and success in migraine, stands to if you can replicate our current success, which I will get to in the next slide, really stands to put a huge dent in the cost of migraine to society. Emergency room visits, which now there's an emergency room visit for migraine once every 10 seconds that costs billions of dollars. Employers have astonishing productivity loss due to migraine, which some studies have estimated to $24 billion annually. So employers are very interested in trying to find ways we suspect will be open to such programs that can improve the productivity of their employees, and of course prescription drug avoidance. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about our track record so far. So over the last year, we've enrolled about 150 people into our migraine program. It's where we've been using the seed capital that we've put in and amassed over the last year or so. We have, with these 50 patients that we first reported out on, and we're going to be reporting more over the next few months, we showed a 94% reduction in the frequency and duration of migraine. The average patient began XRMD with 21 migraine days a month, and it reduced to 4 days. And the amount of time that each of the duration of these migraines have gone from 12 hours a day on average to 2. So the success that we're having is we're very humbled and pleased by the results. I think it shows that there's our patients are very, very excited. Now, before this, back prior to 2015, there have been about 85 other patients that we have worked with that, just from an anecdotal standpoint. We did this pilot study for a specific reason of collecting data, but prior to this, it was a case-by-case basis. So just treating patients and seeing them get better. But we did have other patients who had similar results, and actually those 85 patients were the impetus for us to think about really focusing on migraine. Now, we've also been increasing consumer interest, obviously through trying to work with recruiting the patients. We have generated lots of leads on a limited marketing budget. So we know that there's a lot of interest out there, and we believe that as we start to scale the business now, from taking it from a small, mostly science and medical-based approach to adding, using the funds that we are raising now to building the first stage of a sales and marketing, both professional and commercial sales and marketing effort. We should be able to convert these leads and start to grow relatively rapidly. We've added, in total, like I said, more than 150 new migraine program clients in 2016, and we have about 200 doctors that we work with that we have made aware of what we do. We've given them opportunities to where they've sent patients to us, or they have worked with us to kind of learn how we do things. But we haven't really activated them because our small team has been really focusing on getting the science out, and with our funds, we will be working with professional to activate these doctors and recruit more. Next slide, please. So just switching gears a little bit to kind of how our revenue model works. Customer pays out of pocket for the programs. It's not covered by insurance, but they can use their HSA and FSA if they so have it. We package our solutions as programs, and essentially a program includes, the initial program includes testing, analysis, recommendations, and then 90 days of treatment, where we provide a medical doctor, PhD, a registered dietitian, and health coaching, all as a service to the doctor. So I'm going to explain in a few slides here how we work back and forth in a collaborative medical model with you, or as with a provider, and with XR. So again, our business model is to be an expert advisor on nutrigenomics and inflammation and other optimizing physiology approaches in a collaborative way with doctors. And every program we do is overseen by a physician or a healthcare professional. We partner with local doctors, and then we provide doctors earn compensation for services rendered during the program. Next slide, please. So how we operate today to generate some customers, we directly promote to migraine customers on Facebook. Those patients will enroll through that channel, are assigned either to an XRMD provider, or we work with the patient's doctor. And in that case, if we work with the patient's doctor, we'll reach out to them and explain what we're doing, and they may become an XRMD provider themselves. Or if they can work with one of our providers themselves, and either we will refer patients to our growing network of XRMD providers. So on the bottom, we do recruit medical doctors to become providers, and those providers will inform their migraine patients about XRMD, and we also provide Facebook channel patients to those as well. So we're mostly at this point using Facebook as a recruiting tool. Going to the next stage, once we raise this round of capital, we're going to be taking a pharmaceutical model, a page out of the pharmaceutical company playbook. We're going to do more professional marketing directly to doctors, and recruit and manage and better really take care of the doctor relationship, focus our marketing budgets around those local doctors so that we're sending patients directly to them, and really provide a true professional experience for both the provider and the patient. So that's really the next stage of growth. Next slide, please. So from a competitive standpoint, the way I've chosen to represent this is that there are, of course, pharmaceutical companies that provide drugs for migraine. They have global scope. They focus on symptom relief, not root cause. And of course, they're a very scalable business, as we all know. Individual lifestyle medicine practitioners, or even functional medicine doctors, those who really focus on root cause, and they have more of a local, for the most part, a local reach. So they're not really scalable, but they do focus on root cause. So that in certain markets, we can be competitive with people who are lifestyle medicine practitioners or functional medicine doctors who have their own methods of how to do things. Lifestyle medicine institutions, we're finding the Cleveland Clinic or UCLA, just for a couple of examples, are group practices that are building functional medicine type capabilities within the traditional medical system. You travel to those locations, you do receive treatment, and their focus is on root cause in that area. It's a scalable model, clearly competitive to what we're doing. And then, of course, you have devices or procedures like Botox or nerve ablation surgery, global in scope. And again, those really don't get to the root cause, and of course, they're very scalable. So on the right-hand side, the way we like to think about XRMD is that it is lifestyle or functional or root cause medicine. It has the ability to be global in scope because remember that our approach is to empower individual doctors throughout the United States and then eventually across the world in being able to use this approach in a centralized way and focusing on root cause, and we run right alongside and with each doctor. So we think it's a very scalable model, and one that doesn't require a great deal of investment on the time of the doctor in terms of time or money. So that's kind of how we think about the competitive landscape. And we can move on to the next slide, Lyle. Thank you. So I'd like to take just a minute, and I'm not going to get into deep science here, but I want to explain our method in key ways. First, it's important, a key component of what we do is it's a multimodal approach, and this is key to our success. And we use the acronym HOMING to describe it. It's hormones, oxidative stress, methylation, inflammation, nutrigenomics, and gene expression. And we understand, from these tests, we also integrate personal health history. And now each of these areas individually have been researched from a single modal perspective. For example, you can find hundreds of studies that talk about methylation and how issues with methylation or abnormalities of methylation can lead to disease. Or similarly, you can find how inflammation has impact on disease. What we've done is, what we found to be most effective is to think about this on a holistic and on a multimodal basis. And we've observed consistent and sustained change in patients who follow the regimen that we provide, and we suspect that we're impacting epigenetics. We're creating a healthy person from the inside, focusing on these areas. So our method, in simply put, is to measure, provide an assessment, give recommendations, and then engage as necessary from a change management standpoint to be able to help people succeed and get healthy. Next slide, please. Lyle, can you move to the next slide, please? Next slide, please.
Jeff, what slide are you seeing right now?
I'm seeing the XRMD method. Oh, there, no. Oh.
Here's the next slide. I think it should be example patient timeline.
Yes.
Okay.
So how a patient and how we work with a doctor to operationalize this method is as follows. The physician presents the patient to XR. We assist the physician and staff with an assessment and enrollment. So we take that whole assessment piece burden right away off of the doctor's shoulders. We then coordinate all the testing directly with the patient on behalf of the physician. We conduct the analysis, and we create a personalized care plan for physician review. We then coordinate and sit in on an XRMD physician teleconference to review the recommended care plan and obtain his or her approval. We then schedule a formal results meeting with the patient, and we participate via telemedicine. So the patient will come to the physician's office, and we will join via phone or web conference. Then we will provide nutritional counseling and products, nutritional supplementation, and we will hold multiple telemedicine check-ins and coaching sessions with the patient. And then we report back to the doctor through our online electronic medical record system, where both the patient and the doctor have access so that they can see the progress of the patient. And then we agree to graduate the patient to an ongoing maintenance program. So we provide a lot of the centralized expertise relating to the analysis and the algorithms that we use to determine the care plan that's required. And we provide the counseling as a service to the doctor. So it's all designed to be able to help doctors get up to speed really quickly and provide them the ability to learn about how we do what we do through case-by-case basis. Next slide, please. Yeah, Lyle, I may have a delay, or you do. What slide do you think you're showing?
The patient gets.
Okay, yeah, it's not showing on my screen, but that's fine. As long as, I don't know if anyone else can see it. We use tests from accredited labs, a genetic test, a cheek swab genetic test, and a finger stick blood test for food-related inflammation. The patient, we measure 10 genes and provide nutritional recommendations based on those results. Then we measure 95 foods as potential drivers of inflammation. And then we incorporate both of these tests into the integrated food report that you see on the right. One of the key things that needs to be taken into account is if you just do a nutrigenomic test, it doesn't help you understand inflammatory foods, or if you do or vice versa. So we've filed for intellectual property protection on the combination of the nutrigenomic aspects and the inflammation. And what you see on the right is an excerpt of the report that we provide patients relating to the foods that they should avoid or eat in abundance or eat in moderation. We use a grade A through F scale, scholastic scale. Foods that are in grade A, they can be eaten in abundance. And foods that are down in the grade D or grade F are those that should be avoided or eaten in very infrequently. And what's interesting about this is that what we provide is something that really anybody who is interested in understanding what foods they should eat and how to optimize physiology. It's not just a migraine. Keep that in mind. It's not just a migraine program. We've just decided to focus on migraine. But the idea here is to focus on, or what we do here is help people understand how and why they should be eating certain foods and avoiding others. A migraine patient would use this report very differently than someone who's generally healthy. For example, someone who has foods in a grade F, we would encourage them to avoid those altogether, whereas someone who's looking at it from a prevention standpoint or just a wellness, they're relatively healthy or don't suffer from chronic disease, they might be able to have these foods, or once every 10 days or thereabouts. So we have a strict and a relaxed sort of way to interpret these reports. In the migraine program, we also measure methylation and hormones, and then we provide recommendations for bioidentical hormone replacement as part of that program. Next slide, please. So the key milestones is that we've had we're proving very great success in our migraine. It's early days for sure. 150 patients, but these patients are all improving by really understanding those 6 factors. And every migraine is different. Some are driven by a combination of possibly a hormone, but also some inflammatory foods, or some may have a methylation issue and oxidative stress and hormones. And so it's important why we're so successful, or why we believe we're so successful, is that we've been taking this multimodal approach. And we have a lot of interest in what we do. We have achieved the 94% reduction in the number of migraine hours per month. It's really unprecedented and very encouraging, early days work. And what's exciting is we've signed our first 4 neurologists who also serve as advocates and endorsers, and that's a real ringing endorsement as well that we're very, very proud of, and we take. Thank you. That indicate our value to the main specialists who treat migraine. And then lastly, as I have mentioned a couple of times throughout this, just to keep us grounded in migraine, but remember that it's not just about migraine. We've attracted the attention of a world-renowned retina doctor who is interested in conducting an independent pilot study on 3 types of macular degeneration patients. We've had, outside of our work in migraine, we have had encouraging, albeit very early, success in helping some patients with dry or wet macular degeneration. And so we're going to study that and see where that takes us. And that, I'll just make one final comment here in this regard, is that the way we want to move this into from theory to practice, so to speak, is we are taking a disease state. We intend to prioritize disease states of where we may choose to enter, and that'll be based on market size, unmet need, and things like that. Very strategic approach. And then provide a pilot study, 20, 30 people. And if we get encouraging results from the 20 to 30, we will look for investment, possibly from grants or otherwise, to do larger studies. So we want to take this from a cottage industry kind of approach to something that's really mainstream, and we believe that the approach that we have is something that is really worthy of some serious attention, and we're going to do it in a way that is very, to the extent that we can, that replicates the very best practices about how to clinical adoption. Next slide, please.
Hey, Jeff, we got about 5 minutes, so we'll need to pick up the pace here.
All right, good. So our team, Dr. George Razakis, he's our Chief Medical Officer. He's a board-certified ophthalmologist, and he's a biomedical engineer by training, Cornell Medical School, Duke residency. He was one of the first surgeons in the world to do LASIK eye surgery. He's very much someone who's gone from that starting point and has moved into bioidentical hormone replacement and anti-aging medicine during his career, and that he brings the expertise in bioidentical hormone replacement to the team. Brian Bakke is our PhD and Chief Science Officer. He's an expert in biochemistry and organic chemistry. He has a deep knowledge in genetics and methylation biochemistry, and he's brought that side. And so we brought this together back in 2012 when he joined. Vasily Razakis is our Chief Technology Officer and a co-founder. He's developed our technology platform and our EMR that enables our rapid deployment of our treatment algorithms. And I'm the CEO. I've been an entrepreneur for many years. I've successfully built and managed a lot of different healthcare companies. I'm an engineer, an operating executive, and a strategy consultant. And my job is to put focus and around our growth initiatives and help grow the resources of the team so we can turn this into a very successful enterprise. Next slide, please. So from a forecast standpoint, last year, we've been, for the last several years, it's been about $1 million of revenue. EBITDA losses are about the same. Have about 400 customers. Not all of them are repeat customers. So again, when you think about 2016 and back, it's been a company that has been really focused on, it hasn't really been a commercialized focused enterprise. We're now, with on the backs of our migraine success, we are now poised to grow and to start to bring a commercial aspect to this to the company. And you can see that with investment, we expect to have pretty significant growth. We know that we have a lot of doctors who are very interested in working with us, and we expect that to grow as we increase our marketing efforts. From an exit perspective, we expect to. I would expect that a strategic acquirer is probably the most likely exit, although it's and I think in the 3 to 5 year time frame is really what we're focusing on. We would expect that acquirers may include a wide range of companies, health and wellness focused, could be wellness companies, could be managed care organizations, or nutrition companies, or even large health systems. From a comp standpoint, just by looking at some comps that are in the relative area, adjacent spaces, or where we stand, we're going to be shooting for an exit multiple of 2 to 3 times sales, or in the range of 15 to 20 times EBITDA. That seems to be kind of a safe place for us to focus on right now. Next slide, please. So we're actively raising capital now. We're going to be doing a round over the next 90 days, the last 90 days rather, and we're raising $750,000 as a minimum, up to $1.5 million and an $8 million pre-money valuation. It's preferred equity with a one-time liquidation preference. And as I had kind of alluded to throughout our discussion, the use of funds is to strategically increase our professional, commercial, and medical staff, grow and manage our XRMD provider network, and we like to sponsor 2 independent studies. One is the 30-person study in age-related macular degeneration I mentioned, and then begin to just seed fund the migraine study, the larger migraine study. We're very excited to put this investment to work. I've identified the people who we need to hire and have already had discussions with the team that we need, so we will be able to get out of the gate pretty quickly once we secure funding. Next slide, please. So that's my prepared remarks. Thank you, and I'll turn it back to you, Lyle.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Let's get to. We'll only have time for a couple of questions, and then we'll grab the rest here, and Jeff will follow up. First question: what do you think is the reason for your success in migraine?
The reason we feel like the success is that multimodal approach that we talked about before. You can, by focusing on just a single mode, say just hormones or just food, if you're an elimination diet, you may have some success. And quite frankly, before XRMD with Dr. Razakis treated migraine with bioidentical hormones alone, he actually had decent success, but he found that there really wasn't a real playbook to work from. He wanted there to be a systematic approach, and so they created a systematic approach between he and Dr. Baki. And I think we believe it's that multimodality and really knowing how to work those things simultaneously that we've developed, and we have created algorithms that will allow us to scale.
Okay, and question about, is this FDA approved?
So that's a good question. All the tests are from accredited labs. So we are not a lab, and we use those tests. The nutraceuticals that we provide and the products that we provide are all GMO certified, and we buy them from reputable vendors around. And so the approach itself is a integration of already approved either tests, and therefore the nutraceuticals, and the hormones are of course prescription. What our focus with studies is to show the efficacy of the approach and the methodology, and we think that when we are able to do that, or as we do that, that will while not required by the FDA, it will just improve our ability to gain more share in the marketplace.
All right, and we got time for one more question. And question is, do you have any strategic partners or in talks with any at the moment?
So we have, we're in talks with a health system in Chicago. They have a pediatric children's hospital who we're working very closely with that is interested in working with us. And we've initiated discussions with the VA. I'm as a former veteran, or as a veteran, we're helping with veterans is very important to me, and we've been talking with them about not only with migraine but working with some other initiatives as well along the area of post-traumatic stress and the like. So those are just a couple, and we are working on some others with in the employer space as well.
All right, very good. Well, that's going to wrap today's call. Thank you very much, Jeff. Greatly appreciated. Again, we will capture any additional questions if there's some still filtering through here. And again, thank you for joining us. A replay link will be sent out to everyone later tonight. And again, have a good evening and thank you.